Tension continues in Hyderabad as protests continue to intensify across the city. Cops crack down on protesters in Shalibanda area. Fresh visuals of police cracking down in Hyderabad's Shalibanda area. This is near the Charminar. Protests started last morning here. In fact, 2 days before in the evening they erupted and they've continued unabated despite the police asking people to stay indoors. They've also shut down shops in the area after 8 p.m. There is Section 144 imposed on the area, but as you can see, protests have continued unabated, and this crackdown is because of slogans that have been continuously raised from the area. Now we see the police resorting to a lathi charge. We're joined by my colleague Swastika Das, who is live from the Charminar. She's been continuously reporting on these protests. Swastika, you've been following these protests. Tell us, have they intensified over the last 2 days? And also give us a report on on the protests that took place over the course of the night.
Well, good morning, Shilpa. Yes, the situation today, I would say, or this morning in Charminar area is fairly better, and this comes in the backdrop of intense police crackdown yesterday in areas like Shalibanda, which has been sort of the epicenter of protests as far as Hyderabad is concerned. Remember, protests have been happening for more than 72 hours now continuously, and even now there are sporadic protests in isolated locations. But in total, the figure that we have been given by the police is that nearly 150 protesters have been detained. And also the fact that the law and order situation in the state or in the city of Hyderabad, which was on the edge, is now going to be on the grip of the police, because there has been an intense instruction of clampdown given from Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao, who did a high-level meeting yesterday. So give you a sense of the area that I am in. This is Charminar, and this sort of just 200 meters away is the place where there is Shalibanda area, and as of now the entire area looks peaceful, but last night there were rapid action force who were deployed here. Now as far as the shops are concerned, majority of them will remain shut in protest against Raja Singh, but those which have decided to remain open, we have only permission till 8 p.m. to remain open. After that, there's going to be a complete shutdown. Traffic routes have been diverted. That's the reason why you're seeing the traffic pretty less at this hour of the day. But following up from what happened in the last couple of days, the situation right now, Shilpa, I would say is much better.
Well, yes, indeed, Swastika, because you reported from Shalibanda the same time last morning, and we saw huge protests taking place, and now the police have finally been able to contain it. But of course, the question remains, when Section 144 was imposed in the area, when the police knew that the situation was tense, why did they let the protests go on, especially when there were such inflammatory slogans that were continuously being raised from these protests?
Well, couple of things here. Section 144 was not imposed, but the police had imposed restrictions in the area and appealed to the community leaders to ensure that there was no mass gathering. Yesterday, in fact, in the morning, Shalibanda witnessed massive protests, and late in the night there were protests in Shalibanda, Gulzar House, Yakutpura, Saidabad, different areas in Hyderabad, where the police officials clamped down on all of these protesters. Section 144 imposition is something that the police is still considering at this point in time. But if you talk about the law and order situation in Hyderabad, standard instructions have been given right from the Chief Minister's office to ensure that there is no compromise with the security of the people, with the law and order situation, and mainly because this is an arterial area. Now, Asaduddin Owaisi, MIM chief, yesterday, remember, had appealed to the police, and on his gesture, the police here have released more than 90 detainees, and these were the detainees from areas like Shalibanda. Now, Asaduddin Owaisi himself has said and appealed to people not to raise controversial slogans. Remember, it's not just the slogans that are being raised against Raja Singh, but also there are some what quote unquote anti-social elements according to the BJP who have also been trying to dilute the entire law and order situation. There have been slogans which are being raised from both the sides, and that remains a concern. So one trigger from one side is leading to massive protests being led by the other side, and it is like a circle which is currently going on in Hyderabad, and that's the reason why the law and order situation in Hyderabad has been on the edge since the last 72 hours now. Yesterday also, in fact last night, we saw massive protests break out, but right now we can only hope that the situation gets better from here, considering that all the community leaders now have actively taken a decision to ensure that peace remains and the protest against a particular leader is done in a peaceful manner without threatening the lives of others.
Well, yes, indeed, Swastika, and we are glad that the situation is improving, but we also have access another shocking video from Hyderabad.